The Raiders have had a lot of ups and downs this season, historic moments, crazy things that you never see happen, and somehow they one-upped it all in week 15 against the Patriots. This is what happens in Vegas. Let's talk about it. What up, Raider Nation? It's your boy Neil Maligno, and this is what happens in Vegas. We are talking about the Raiders Patriots game that ended in historic fashion, maybe one of the craziest, if not the craziest play ever in the history of the NFL. It was absolutely insane. Before we started looking at the score and the stats and all the tweets and all the stuff that we have to cover, all the cool content that we have to cover from everybody, let's talk about the state of the Raiders. First question that everyone's asking, are the Raiders to make the playoffs? My guess is no. It has to just fall in line perfectly for the Raiders, win out, this team lose, that team lose. It just seems too far gone for that to be the case. If you're hanging on to that hope, cool. If it gets us something to watch, cool. I'm here for it. I'm just not banking on it, expecting it, thinking it. The Raiders have done too much bad this season, too many losses, too many ugly losses for me to be now at this point banking and hoping on a playoff run at 6-8. I'm just not going to get that crazy, that far-fetched, and think that way, although it's still a mathematical possibility, and although I still want the Raiders to win out and everything to fall into place for it to happen. Crazier things have happened, as we've seen in the Patriots game against the Raiders, but still, if you just ask me today, Neil, are the Raiders going to the playoffs? My guess would be no. That would be my humble and honest opinion. Is it over? No, because mathematically we're still in it. So it is what it is. So that's the current state of the Raiders in terms of the playoffs. Now that that's done, let's talk about this team. I, of course, as usual, battle it out with fans on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever we lay our heads, and especially Twitter during the games for the most part. Of course, after this win, as all the supposed Raider fans are creating their content, getting it ready, getting their tweets ready, getting their YouTube videos ready for the
Fire Josh McDaniels, cut Derek Carr.
This team has to rebuild, start from scratch as they were all preparing them, getting their drafts ready. I believe some of these guys put that fire Josh McDaniels in their Twitter drafts before the game even starts, just to get ready to launch it when the game is over, because they love getting all those clicks. Should the Raiders fire Josh McDaniels? Vote yes or no, and they get all their clicks. Or the Raiders suck. Josh McDaniels is the worst coach ever. Derek Carr is the worst quarterback. Should they keep him? Click, 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 click. Feed off that emotion, feed off that anger, feed off that desperation from Raider fans. I see you guys. I believe you get that all prepared before the game even starts. I don't even believe you believe in this team. I don't even know if you like this team. To be honest with you, when you're chanting and going crazy and endorsing the idea that fire the first-year head coach who's had some success and has his team buying in, get rid of the quarterback who has always stayed loyal to this fan base, who has had success when things go right for him and things are in place to protect him and the right weapons are out there. When you guys are so amped up, ready to just blow this thing up and go back to the drawing board for everything, I have to believe that, man, you might not really be a Raider fan. I'm not sure, because things aren't as bad as you want to make it. I think maybe just sports fans in general, Raider fans embody this sometimes, are just so fickle and emotional, and it happens after a loss. I get it. And even in this game, things were not perfect. It never seems to be perfect for the Raiders, but that's what we've all come, that's the Raider thing, man. Like, it's never perfect. It's just games are ugly and we need to come out on top most times. And that's what we're looking for. And I believe this team is building towards that. I believe this head coach can do that. I believe this quarterback can do that. So I'm not in that mentality with you guys looking to, burn this thing to the ground and start new leaders at quarterback, new leader at head coach, new leader at all these things. I'm not into that. I'm not into that. So we'll talk about more of this. Also, yes, I'm wearing this Raider hat, the one that for some reason people on TikTok especially think, are you wearing a Raider hat with Chief colors? Is that 49er colors on a Raiders hat? It's just a different colorway, guys. It's a Raiders hat. Relax. I think it's fire. And for those who ask where I got it from, because a lot of people do like it as well, I appreciate the compliments. If you're looking for it, I think I got it on like Fanatics or one of those sites. You can find it on there. But anyway, listen, it was a crazy game. Let's go ahead and just bring up. Let's start talking about this game. We have to talk about this game. Let's go ahead and bring up Patriots Raiders. 24-30 is how this game ended in the wildest of fashions. Before we look at that play and everything, let's just talk about the stats in general. The Raiders defense, if you see here, Mac Jones only threw for 112 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, which sucks. This team, I just need to see more turnovers, but Mac Jones was held to, non-existence basically. At some point, he felt like he was rolling, he was finding his stride. Then it would, kind of go away. What really happened here is Ramondre Stevenson, 172 yards, 9-yard average, one touchdown. He went nuts. He went crazy. He also kind of contributed at the end to the play that cost him the game. However, he went nuts. This isn't acceptable for the defense. They got to do a better job of controlling this. They got to do a better job at bringing this in and not allowing this kind of stuff to happen. And it's been kind of up and down all year, depending on who the running back is. But that definitely got out of hand. Nobody here, like I said in the passing game, really disrupted us too much though, because Mac Jones didn't get it going. Let's look at our own guys though. Derek Carr, 231, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. The interception was a horrible, play. It led to a touchdown. It was a pick six. It was red straight off. Like, let's just call it what it is. The guy read Derek Carr's eyes. It was an easy interception for me. He just took it right to the house right there. So that was the bad play on the game by Derek Carr. He did have some good moments, especially some of these touchdowns that you're seeing, the 3 touchdowns. One was to Darren Waller. One was to Keelan Cole. I forgot who got the other one. Matt Collins. That's right, Matt Collins. So he had a decent game overall. Obviously, again, it wasn't perfect, but it got the job done at the end of the day. It contributed to the win. Josh Jacobs, 93 yards on 22 carries, no touchdowns. Struggled a little bit in this game. Started the first half good, ended the second half not as productive. It just got ugly in the second half, and this was the case for everything on offense. To be honest, things really started to stall out in that second half completely after going in with, again, a fairly, decent lead. At wide receiver, Keelan Cole had this big 50-yard touchdown, which a lot of people are complaining about the refs for not calling it out. We'll look at an image later that makes it look like, again, that this was not one of those calls that they could reverse. They just didn't have enough to reverse it. And it may have just been good the whole way. Darren Waller, a few receptions. He had a touchdown. So welcome back to Waller. He didn't get a ton of snaps. Like, he wasn't out there the whole game like we're, accustomed to before the injury, but he did get enough snaps to make an impact clearly. I would only assume that would continue to go higher and higher as we wrap up the season. Matt Collins, Mr. Consistent, 40 yards and a touchdown. He's been doing good all year. It's been, at first I thought when the first couple of games it was happening, I thought maybe this is like a fluke thing. Maybe he's just getting lucky. There's some injuries and stuff, but he just continues to perform week in and week out. So we really love this. Was a great move by the Raiders to add Matt Collins, not only on special teams, which he's crushed it at, but also at wide receiver, being a leader, being an outspoken veteran on the team. He's done really, really well for this team. And again, part of the guys that just continue to buy in, which is beautiful. Devontae Adams is the big issue here on this. 4 catches for 28 yards. I hate when I see this. I hate when I see games like this for Devontae Adams. He did get a decent amount of targets. He didn't get much done with it. It wasn't all his fault. Obviously, the Patriots are a really good defense. This is something, there's a few things that people aren't acknowledging here, and we'll get into that after I pull these the rest of these stats up. Perriman crushing it in tackles. Luke Masterson had a pretty decent game, had some tackles for losses. The rest of these guys just did their thing. There was nothing significant from the defense in terms of sacks or interceptions. I guess you don't label the Chandler Jones play at the end of the game an interception. I don't know what you call it. I don't know if they don't consider. Do they consider that a fumble? I don't know what they call that actually on the stat sheet. But anyway, Chandler Jones was the big reason at the end of the game for this crazy upset. Just let's just talk about this for 1 second. A lot of people are going, "Hey, the Raiders started the game pretty decent. They ended the game not so great, other than that Chandler Jones play for the touchdown that won the game." Listen, you're playing the Patriots, first of all, right? Can we acknowledge together right now that the Patriots are one of the best defenses in football? They're one of the best defenses in football. They have the best head coach in football. There is no questioning his greatness, right? His eliteness. So something that he's always been heralded for and given all this credit for is his halftime adjustments. Going into the second half, no one adjusts better than Bill Belichick. The Raiders had some success in the first half. They had the lead in the first half. If you think that he was going to come out and not adjust to the Raiders in an elite level, then you're not paying attention to football. So the Raiders offense coming out in the second half shouldn't have been as good as it was in the first half, because this is what Bill Belichick neutralizes all the time. It's his greatest asset, damn near, right? So the offense struggling on the second half isn't necessarily a surprise. It's to be expected. The problem is that Josh McDaniels, on the other hand, didn't adjust enough to counter it in terms of scoring points. It stalled out. There's no question about it. So that kind of stuff can't happen. Excuse that they took Devontae Adams out of the game can't happen. These kind of things have to be worked out. The Raiders have to get better at halftime adjustments to the point where it's not costing them the game, but it's also not stalling out the entire offense in the game. So in that case, I'm not upset that the Raiders offense did less in the second half. I expect them to do less in the second half when you're playing a head coach like Bill Belichick. I expect things to slow down some. It slowed down too much, which means our offensive coaches and our players on offense need to do better at countering the adjustment. But that's how this game works when you play the best coach in the sport. Another caveat I see people say, if not for the blocked punt, you wouldn't have scored before the half. If not for the Chandler Jones play, you wouldn't have won the game. Right. That's how football works. Good teams who keep fighting make plays, sometimes unlikely plays, plays that don't have to happen often, but they happen when you play hard, when you play disciplined, when you play relentless football. That's the whole point. You should be happy the Raiders blocked the punt. You should be happy the Raiders had the Chandler Jones play. That means this team, which was 5-8 coming into this game, has not given up. This team has pride. This team is playing for something, and that's partly in part because of the leader at a head coach of Josh McDaniels, the leader at quarterback Derek Carr, the leaders on defense, the leaders on offense who refuse to quit. You are taking these things and not giving them the proper credit. Sure, it's a fluky type of thing to get a blocked punt. Sure, it's a fluky type of thing to happen, what happened to Chandler Jones. But the reason you get yourself into these lucky positions is by hard work, by relentless effort. These are the things that make luck happen. Luck is luck. Sometimes it literally happens to people who don't work hard, who aren't good people, who aren't in a positive mind state, who aren't in a good place, and it just happens. In many cases, good good luck comes to those who work hard. It is what it is. You don't have to agree. That's my opinion, but that's how I feel about it. So the blocked punt is effort. It's a guy who's not giving up going into the half. It's a guy who's still busting his tail as this quarter's ending. The Chandler Jones play is a guy who's still playing for the win, not giving up, even though his offense stalled out a little bit, even though things are getting tough and the Patriots are putting up points. He still was looking to win, even when everyone thought we're going to overtime. He still was looking for it. You have to, when you want to take credit from Josh McDaniels, like I'm doing when I say the offense stalled out, when there's dumb penalties, when there's these kind of things, I'm blaming the leadership. At the same time, you have to give credit to the leadership for the things like that that you just can't ignore. So you can't this is the bias that you have when you say fire Josh McDaniels. You're only looking for negative stuff then. You're not going to pin the positives on him. When you say Derek Carr sucks, don't take away the credit for the 50-yard bomb for a touchdown. That matters. That counts because if somebody else did it on another team, you would say that quarterback was legendary. What a play. What a, ice in his veins. But when Derek Carr does it, it's, oh, he got lucky. Oh, he was out of bounds. Oh, this. You can't have that mind state. This is your Raiders, man. You bleed silver and black. You can't think like that all the time. All right. I had to, get that rant out there. Let's go back to some of the stuff here that I have now. We got Josh DeBow. Got to get a Josh DeBow tweet in there. Devontae Adams games with less than 40 yards receiving in one season with the Raiders, 4. Devontae Adams games with less than 40 yards receiving in 5 seasons. In the last 5 seasons with the Packers, 4. This is why I say stuff like this is unacceptable. Josh McDaniels, Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, they have to figure out how not to make this happen. I understand guys can't have 150 yards, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, all that kind of stuff every single week, but you also can't be doing things for the first time ever in a guy's career more than ever and say that you can't take credit for it. Like, you have to take some credit. Obviously, different team, some different focuses, but the focus should always be Devontae Adams to some degree. And this kind of stuff shouldn't probably be a stat that we see very often. So this is something, again, McDaniels in the offense and Derek Carr, everybody has to work on. So that's I thought was interesting. Derek Carr was all of us watching that insane Raiders game winner. I thought we should just look at this really quick together and watch it. Here's the play that ended the game. You can check out Derek Carr here and his reaction as it was happening. This was great. See, Stevenson threw it back, and Jacoby wasn't expecting that. He just made a bad play. And Chandler Jones makes a glorious play. And look at Derek Carr going nuts. He's telling the coach, look at this, this is nuts. We're winning it, Bo. Check it out. So this is great. And here's the thing. When we talk about this kind of stuff, when we talk about these things where Jacoby Myers makes this play, right? You're not saying fire Bill Belichick. You're not saying fire Bill Belichick. You're not saying fire the offensive coordinator. You're not saying cut Jacoby Myers. Why not? Because it's the Patriots. You feel like they've earned this reputation. It's Bill Belichick. He's earned his reputation. So he can, these kind of things can happen and you don't blame him. But if the Raiders did this exact play, you would say fire Josh McDaniels. If the Raiders did this exact play, you would say cut Derek Carr. They had nothing to do with it. Jacoby Myers made a play on impulse. It wasn't part of the call to play. It wasn't something he was thinking about going into it. He wasn't even probably expecting the hand back at all. So to blame it on a coach is ridiculous. To blame it on the quarterback, ridiculous. He made a lapse in judgment. It was a bad decision, and it ended awfully. It ended up as one of the worst plays in NFL history. It wasn't the play call, though. It doesn't mean Bill Belichick lost his team. It just was a play. And that's what happens a lot in the Raiders games when Tillery knocks the ball out of the quarterback's hand and gives him further distance. When guys are doing all these stupid penalties, they're not, you can't blame everything on Josh McDaniels, everything on Derek Carr. They get blamed for what they should get blamed for. All the penalties, some of that is Josh McDaniels, right? Some of it's players doing stupid stuff. The offense stalling out. Some of it's Josh McDaniels, some of it's Derek Carr, some of it's the team in general. Sometimes it's the defense adjusting, the other team adjusting. You can't just blame everything on them. They came out with the win. They continue to fight. They continue to stay positive and believe in each other and believe that this was possible. And you got to give that credit to everybody. You got to spread it out across the team here. You just can't rely on one thing. Thinking about playing the Steelers, Field Yates puts here the current estimates for the feels like temperature at kickoff of some of the outdoor games this Saturday. Raiders down here at the bottom, if you see at the bottom here, Raiders at Steelers, -4 degrees. -4 degrees. Good luck, Raiders. It's going to be freezing. Hey, to the fans who are out there, enjoy that. Enjoy that weather. Also, Keelan Cole, the toe drag, Jesse Merrick here said this is the corner of the end zone where the toe drag was at. Looks to him like it was in. Just an example. Obviously, this doesn't, certify anything, but it looks like toe drag, right? Like you don't see the white part, the outline there, the out of bounds. You don't see that smeared out. You see the grass and the darker part kicked out from inside. So I'm actually good with this call. Even again, like the ref said, they called it a touchdown. They didn't have enough to overturn it. But this is just an interesting little video. You don't see these too often. And then Vic Tafer of The Athletic here. I just wanted to share this of Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick cutting this. This was quick, weird, as always, as it is with Bill Belichick. He was pissed at this moment. It was Josh McDaniel making his day here because no matter what you want to say, no matter how much they want to discount it, these guys care when they play their former teams. And so I just thought this was funny to be the last image that we see of these two together for this season. Uh, the Raiders get one up on the Patriots. It was good, right? Kind of gives them their own version of the fumble that we had, back in the day that they continue to harp on us on and make fun of us on. Now they have their moment to relive over and over and over because that Chandler Jones play is going to live in infamy. It's going to be the highlight of the year. I think it'll make the number one list for the NFL highlights every year for this season. And you're just gonna see it over and over, and that's how it should be. A Raiders play should be how you see it for the rest of the season. Shout out to the Raiders. I'm happy. I'm proud of them. Shout out to the Raider Nation who stays supporting. Shout out to you guys in the comments, man. Some of you leave these great comments. It's awesome. And then some people are just haters, and it is what it is, and that's fine. I love going back and forth with you guys too. It's always a fun exchange for me one way or the other. But shout out to everybody who's continuing to watch, continuing to be subscribed. If you're not subscribing, you're watching this right now, please do subscribe. If you want to follow on any of the social platforms, Twitter is at Clock Dodgers, Clock CLOCK, Dodgers DODGERS. On Instagram or TikTok, it's at What Happens in Vegas Pod. Lots of stuff popping off on those platforms. Lots of good interaction there as well. So TikTok has been surprisingly a great spot to chop it up with Raider fans and the Raider haters. They come in full force on there as well. But YouTube, you guys are awesome. Let me know what you think about the current Raider team. Let me know, do you still think they should fire Josh McDaniels? Do you think Derek Carr should leave? What do you think the Raiders should do? Because we're going to be heading into the offseason soon. There's going to be so much to talk about with that. The Raiders, for sure, no matter how this season ends, are going to have an eventful offseason that we're going to have so much to cover. So I'm really looking forward to that. Other than that, guys, I appreciate you for joining me on a weekly basis to cover this team and talk about this team. It's not been the way we wanted it. It's not the way we planned it. It's not the way we drew it up, but it's the Raiders. I bleed silver and black. We're part of the Raider Nation. It is what it is. You can't deny it. It's Raiders all day. This is what happens in Vegas, and what happens in Vegas is Raiders football.